Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of Randumb Behavior. I'm Potter,
I'm Anthony.
and today we'll be talking about
The power of positivity.
Woo!
Yeah, I feel like spirit fingers because like me reaching out, and I know that's funny, and it's like that was like kind of comical, but I feel like for those people watching, and then like I was saying before we started this episode that the next 30 minutes we're gonna chat, we're gonna talk, and hopefully we learn something about each other. We learn something from each other's experiences that we can take with us, and make it positive and incorporate into our lives. Just because, like, I'm on this journey, you're also on this journey too. And then for the next 30 minutes, like, everybody who is watching this and listening to this is on this journey with us.
But what if this isn't 30 minutes? What if this is only like 5 minutes or 15
right,
minutes?
Right. Well,
or
time.
like hour?
But time is relative. But yeah. All right. So time is relative. Like it's like that. You ever see that movie Interstellar?
Which one is that one?
Interstellar is with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway's.
What did they do?
Yeah. So it's like the whole, like, the premise of the movie was like the Earth was running out of resources, and the whole point was them to try to figure out, like, if there's another livable planet out there that they can colonize and inhabit. That's
so
like,
they went into space. They didn't actually go in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, like, there's these certain turn of events. There's one part of the film, like, it's funny that this is kind of like a sidebar. but I really do appreciate Christopher Nolan's movies in this way. But, like, it tripped me out because, like, there was one planet that they explored where they were only down on this planet for, like, a good hour in, like, our time, right?
Yeah.
But then the guy that they left behind on the spaceship, like, when they finally got back up, like, it turns out they were gone for like 20 years.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it was like, holy, are we allowed to curse?
You can curse all.
Okay, all right. Holy shit. Like, it's like, how do you, okay, well, I guess it's a perfect segue. Like, how do you, for that guy, and, like, I think every time I watched that movie, I was thinking about, like, dude, how, because then 20 years alone, solo.
Yeah.
And you're up there alone, and it's like again, 20 years, like, Earth time, right?
Okay.
So it's like, how do you keep from losing your mind? Because, I mean, there's at some point where you crave the human attention,
Or you can just, like, make believe characters.
Right,
like,
and I'm sure that's what happened until the rest of the crew finally came back up.
Yeah, but then what if they really weren't actual people? What if they were just part of his imagination, right?
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh, now you're talking about, like, Fight Club. Yeah.
Okay, don't hate me. I never actually fully watched Fight Club, so I don't know about the Fight Club because I don't.
But we're not supposed to talk about it.
The Fight Club.
Yeah, because that's rule number 1 and 2. Right. Yeah. Rule number 1: don't talk about Fight Club. Rule number 2: don't talk about Fight Club.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So it could all just be in his mind. Like they could have came back, or they could have died, and he could.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's right.
Back.
And so it's interesting that you bring that up, because, like, a lot of everything that's been happening in my life is based off of a personal perception that I had prior to me being on this journey back up to where I feel like I need to be.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So it's like staying positive despite everything that's happened
all
in
the
my
bad
life.
juju. Right.
And so I am, like, 100% certain that you can kind of speak to that too, just because like you've had your situations where you had to be like damn, like if you believe in, you believe in God.
Yes.
Where you're questioning a lot of why God is giving you all these obstacles and hurdles, right? And so I think it's up to us, where this is my argument against predestination and, like, destiny and fate.
Yeah.
Because, like, God, although God has this overall plan,
we only see a tiny portion of it.
Exactly. And
unless you're like a precog and you can see the future.
Oh, like in Minority Report. Yeah.
I was thinking Phoebe from Charmed, but
okay, all right. See, I've never really watched Charmed.
All right.
Yeah. So I learned something about you. You learned something about me today. Exactly. Yeah. But it's just like despite everything that God or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in, that you may believe in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that it is in your path, despite, it's just like, having the consciousness and making the effort to go, you know what, like there are people worse, in worse situations than me, and then if like it would be dishonoring those people and dishonoring myself and dishonoring like
Your
even
cow.
like God, right? Yeah, like like if I weren't gonna turn around and make this into something that I need to overcome or I need to learn from.
Well, because that's pretty much what all these obstacles are. Like, they aren't necessarily there to make you fail. They're there to make you stronger.
Yeah.
Right. Like, technically, he wouldn't put an obstacle there if he didn't think that in some shape or form you can accomplish it.
Right.
Unless you just
right
wanted to test how far you're willing to go.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. And I think in those situations too, it's like maybe in trying to overcome that obstacle, maybe you're supposed to fail, and you're supposed to learn from that
the
part.
failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be true too.
Yeah.
Because somewhere down the line you'll be like, oh well, I've done this before, and I realize that if you go that way, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So let's go this way.
Right. And so that's you learning from that situation.
Yeah.
And so, like, did you know that? And so, like, okay, so it's funny that because I was supposed to help record with you last week prior to you recording with Mark so that you can get a bank going, but it just turned out that couldn't get the schedules right, and we had to schedule it for today. It was going to be either today or tomorrow. And yeah. And so I met this gentleman on this past Monday on a retreat for work, which like I wasn't expecting anything, but I met him, and he's like big into acronyms. And then it turned out that he had written a book called so I'm gonna have a lot of book recommendations here.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's okay with you and your audience.
So, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I think it's called A Moment's Pause for Gratitude. I want to say that. Kevin Carroll. So I met the guy this past Monday because he gave a lecture
You
about...
met Kevin Carroll?
Yeah.
The actual...
Yeah, the actual author, yeah.
Nice.
He's based out of here in the Bay Area. Look him up. He has a blog called, I think it's Attitude with Gratitude.
Attitude with Gratitude.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I can
or
put
the Attitude of Gratitude or something. But like Kevin Carroll, so...
links below.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, you're going to be the first person I put links on.
Yeah. And I can send you some of those links too, just so I can meet you halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like okay, so first off, let me express my gratitude for you having this show and this platform, and for you to bring me on, just because like I feel like so I had been podcasting for like almost the last decade, and so it's cool that I can be on somebody else's show to kind of help them move to their
and maybe refine whatever skills that you currently have,
right?
Because you've been doing it for a while. That
yeah.
Maybe there's something new out there that you haven't touched,
yeah,
or whatever.
And so like I've never done video, like a video show like this before. Like everything I've done so far has been audio only. So for me to be like, oh, let me look presentable and not like look like I just came out, just got out of bed or something.
And then wave at the camera or whatever.
Yeah. So, but anyways, he is a big firm believer in acronyms, and then he said in his book, he didn't say this in his lecture. He said fail means first attempt in learning.
First attempt. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
I feel like in situations where there's something put in front of you and you're not good at it right away, or like you end up ultimately succumbing to the obstacle, and there's something to learn, like there's always a learning and growth process. Like that's how you grow.
Hey, that sounds like an acronym. Well, it's not necessary. I guess it's an acronym. It's more of a motto.
Okay.
So I came up with something, LAG.
Okay.
Lag. Right?
Okay.
Learn, adapt, grow.
Right.
So you basically, you learn from your mistakes, you adapt to the situation, and then you grow into like a better person.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember what the learn part was. I was like, experiences? I was like, mistakes, situation, something.
Right. But I'm glad that it came back to you at this moment in time, because now there it is.
Yeah, so it's like I kind of already knew what it was. It's just I couldn't remember the exact details. But I mean that's pretty much it's the same thing. Like you're in a situation. It was like, we'll just lag from it. And it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember when we had met up to discuss, when we met up for coffee and we talked about a bunch of this stuff. It's like that was one of the things I wrote in my notebook.
That's right.
Yeah.
I gave you a different definition for the lag part,
right.
for the learn part.
Right, but now it's on record of what it's supposed to be. But everything that you had said that night was, it still applied.
Yeah.
And then, believe it or not, like, I still refer to that and I go, this is exactly what I'm doing on a daily basis.
Nice.
And so I think a big part of what's happening now, which I'm experiencing some sort of like spiritual growth and then personality growth, and I'm being not forced per se, I'm being pushed into this journey where like I am super uncomfortable with everything that's happening right now. So for a little bit of context, there was a young lady who I was involved in a relationship for over 5 years.
Huh.
And I thought that I was going to marry this one, and it turns out she was happy with how life was. We were already living the domesticated lifestyle, and our families were blended because I have a 12-year-old son from a previous situation, and she has a 16-year-old daughter from a previous situation. So we were like Jamba Juice. We were blended.
Jamba Juice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when it came to discussions about marriage, it was always like anxiety inducing for her.
Huh.
And we were kind of at a disconnect, and then like a lot of those things just like I buried deep inside.
Okay.
And so I wasn't really being true to myself. And then it all came to a head, like I want to say this past fall. So now we're talking like a year after I tried to bring up the marriage discussions, and like just attempting, but then always backing off because I'm the type of person to where I am willing to just sacrifice my feelings just so everybody else is all good. Like in a zombie apocalypse, I will be the first person to volunteer to be in that front room so that everybody else can escape. Yeah. And so that's what I was doing with my feelings, but like it was causing some sort of like disconnect between me and like the person that's supposed to matter. And it sounds like really selfish about the whole like looking out for number one, but there's some truth to it, to where like, yeah, you got to be true to yourself. And
sometimes you need to like be selfish sometimes.
Yeah.
Though. Like putting other people first before you consistently is kind of like a water bottle, right? Everyone's pretty much taking a sip from the water bottle to the point where the water bottle has no time to refill itself. So that by the very end, you're still trying to give to other people and there's like nothing there.
Right.
And so basically what you're giving is like backwash. And it's gross.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where you feel drained, you're like completely empty, and now you're just like, I'm just gonna go hide in the cave for a while and like recharge.
Yeah. And that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like I'm gonna get really personal, and I think I already am, but yeah. I have long commutes to work, and so I think this past October,
everyone in this area has a long
October,
commute.
November. I know. Damn, that's the Bay Area though.
Not as bad as LA or other places, but
anyway. It was like I was finding myself driving, and I was alone, and like nothing would trigger it, and just tears would start streaming down, and I was just bawling and I was crying.
Like just out of nowhere, there was no thoughts in your head that like
it was just like, and so it like kind of going back now, like so she and I had split up this past like a few months back, and then I decided to seek out the help just because I want to say that I take ownership and I take stock of what's happening with me. And so I'm not afraid to admit that I'm going to therapy and seeing a psychiatrist.
Okay.
So she had said, you know what, that was like all those the feelings that you buried, that was just it coming up, because like it's a powder keg.
Yeah. Like you can only take too much before it like explodes.
It's gonna explode, and so it exploded and it broke me.
Oh.
And then now it's like I'm in a free fall, but now I can kind of see where I'm supposed to go, And so, which brings me to where, like, the whole idea of, like, even though I feel sadness and like I feel anxious inside, like I feel like now kind of have a clear direction of where I need to go so that I can reach that so like there's this quote that I just read this morning about, everybody always wants to see what's on top of the mountain, but the growth happens in the climb.
Yeah.
And so, like, now I'm on a climb, where I was in a false sense of being at the mountaintop before, because like not really all of me was up in the mountain. Like, I was sneaking a peek, but I wasn't willing to bring bring the rest of myself up so I can be at the top of the mountain, to experience the beauty, to be there.
Or
right?
Or in actuality, it's more like these mountains have little ridges.
Yeah.
And which you were at was one of the ridges, which looked like it was the top, but in reality,
I still had a ton more to go.
Yeah.
And so, after experiencing that, and just kind of on this path now, where like God's given me this opportunity to, like, I have to let me figure this out, and then in the meantime, let me try to be the best sense of myself while trying to discover myself. So I'm trying to, I know this is probably like causing some sort of like glare, because like the sun anyway, but I was thinking,
where's the sun?
It's right. But I'm glad we did it today, because like I know yesterday was a little bit cloudy.
Yeah.
Right. And then like I think I was saying, like, the sun is so much of a character of your show that I feel like it's necessary that we need it, because like I feel like what your show brings, at least for me, and and I hope like during this show, is that like I hope we can provide a beacon of light, right? Like for this, yeah.
That would have been perfect timing if the engine went off the same time you said beacon of light.
Yeah. Let's rewind that and try it again. Yeah. And then, so it just, I think for me, just making the best of the situation, and then being like taking stock of everything and being more mindful about that. And so the funny story that I'd like to share about us, about like reconnecting and actually starting on this path of being friends, because I think over the last 10, 12 years, we've just kind of been acquaintances, and we'd always run into each other at different places.
I think you're more friends with my brother,
right,
than me, I think.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, like, now that I feel like, again, like this whole thing of like the universe putting so many things in front of me, like people, places, and things in front of me, that I'm supposed to reach out and actually like connect, and then hopefully
share your wisdom.
Yeah, share my wisdom, right. And then hopefully get them to where they need to go, because there's a sense of satisfaction that I get knowing that I helped somebody for that day, and then it's very good for my, like, not to be selfish, but it's like it feels good for my soul knowing that like I have resources, I have the skills, I have the knowledge to help somebody else in that situation. And so like a lot of that is why I choose to remain positive, despite like all the sadness and all the anxiety that I've been experiencing on a personal level when I'm alone or whatever. But sometimes there's this another quote that I read, and I read a lot of quotes, like the strongest people are usually the ones who are more than willing to help out despite their own struggles.
And there's similar quotes to that, like you always want to check your strong friends. Yeah. Right? Because they are probably the ones that are hurting the most. Yeah. Or something like that, right? Yeah. Like you never really know what's going on inside a person's head. They could be putting up a facade, and it would trick everyone around them just to make it seem like, oh, they're in a really good place right now. And like in reality, they're trying their best to think positive, but at the same time, a bunch of like this bad negative vibration is like surrounding them so much that it's like putting them down, that they don't feel like they're worthy enough to like be around people and whatever. So they put up this face to be like, no, I'm okay, I don't need help, like I got this. And it's like, and just based off of what you said just now, like it sounds like you're coming from a personal experience. I mean, I've seen it all around the place. I've probably been there at one point in time. I know people that have been there. So yeah, and then also in social media, you see it floating around like everywhere. It's like for some reason this year or last year or something was the year of like negative energy,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's just been like trying to figure out how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, some people have like, I don't know, they've given up. It's Lent, right? So
Mm-hmm.
people have given up social media for Lent. I don't really know their reasons, but like some would be like, oh well, they just don't want to see certain things always showing up.
Okay.
Like political issues. A lot of people are tired of seeing all of that stuff, right? Or just like a whole bunch of people like being very self-conscious or very negative, and it's like, I don't need that in my life. Like
Mm-hmm.
there, a bunch of people, I'm assuming, are like learning from like all of this and everyone else saying, why am I being associated with this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're grown adults. We can, like, yeah, I want to keep you as a friend, but if you're very toxic, I'm gonna cut you.
Right.
So,
And that's a very difficult thing to do.
That
just
is.
because you may have known somebody for
like years,
10, 15,
maybe
20
like
years.
since diapers and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And it's like they could even be family and be like, oh well, I don't need you in my life. And then it's
Mhm.
like, I don't care for blood.
Right.
I'll cut you off.
And that is
And that
very
that
difficult
sucks,
to do.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what happens when, like, down the line you guys see each other, like you're at a family party, in reality it's like, oh well, you don't exist to me. Like,
Yeah.
it just creates like a weird tension in the room for
Mhm.
everyone else that
Mm-hmm.
is unaware of the situation.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you just, I don't know, think differently, right? And it's like high vibrations.
Right.
And
Right. And it's funny that you say that because there was a quote that your previous guest Mark posted about like people are most harmonious with the vibration that they're trying to achieve, right?
yeah.
And so change your perception, change your vibration, and so to which I always say vibrate high.
Yeah.
Like there's a higher sense of self that you're trying to
Because you can
get to.
vibrate low and then
Yeah.
still bring in
Yeah.
all these low vibrations. So like, oh, one of us.
Yeah.
One of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want that, bro.
Yeah.
So
And then that's why I feel like a lot of what's going on now is the whole argument about like destiny versus free will, because like God has a plan.
yeah.
God has this thing in mind, and then
And in reality, he probably even has multiple plans. Like,
Yeah.
because it's like those books that you pick a page and then you pick your path, right?
Mhm.
So there could already be predestined paths, and you're assumed to go down this direction, but because of the fact that you saw this little item here, you want to go in this direction.
Mhm.
These are still two different paths, but they've already been pre-chosen, saying depending on which way you think,
Mhm.
they're already there. So the free will part comes from the choice,
Right.
but the destiny is all there.
Right.
Like, who knows? Maybe somewhere down the line you go down path A500 instead of path B,
Mhm.
but in reality they all lead to path C,
Mhm.
right? And I was like, oh, if I went this way, I would have gotten here faster than this direction,
Right.
right?
And I feel like for some of us, we need to go to
Through these other
to that different
locations
direction.
to gain the experience.
And to gain the knowledge,
yeah.
to gain the growth. And like, I'm about to start crying in a second. Right?
I could see it.
Just because like I understand.
I don't have any tissues.
No, it is all right, dude. And I'm bearing my soul, but I feel like this is organic and this is natural, and so like what you're saying just rings true with what I'm going through.
Ah,
Yeah, and it's just like,
I
oh
have
man,
the
that's like
Unagi.
it's. But yeah, like another point to that too, just because I think what caused us to reconnect was your promo for the show, but I wouldn't have seen that promo if
It just wasn't blinking on your social media
Right.
consistently.
yeah. So you know how like I don't know if for those of you who use Instagrams if you on the gram,
Instagrams.
I saw the
plural.
Instagrams.
There's no
But it
S.
was like anytime I logged on, just because like I don't know, I like I had to quit for a little bit just because like I was going on too much. But I was like, anytime I signed on, you know how it refreshes and then it
Yeah.
moves to story circles, like it mixes it up.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but anytime I logged on, your story circle would never leave, and I was like, is this one of those situations, God? Like, let me see. And so I clicked on it, and it was your promo for the dating episode.
Ah, with Maggie.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe there was a second thing to it. Maybe if you were to go back into the dating scene, you can watch episode 1 and learn from whatever we talked about.
Yeah. I'm having. I gotta say, like, I'm a huge fan of your show, even though you've at this point you've only put out a few episodes.
Yeah.
But like, I think what you're doing and putting yourself out there, and then having these other people put themselves out there too, is a powerful thing, because it's very difficult nowadays, like with all the noise, with like how saturated like YouTube and Instagram and Twitter are, that you know, like giving somebody a voice, right? And so, like, to me, like, this is a funny reference because I love wrestling, but like, I feel like right now you're like CM Punk. I don't know if you know who CM Punk is.
No.
But he was at one point known as the voice of the voiceless.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he would connect the crowds, and like he would find ways to connect with the crowds, whether he was a bad guy or a good guy.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like you're providing a platform for people like me, for people like Mark, for people like Maggie.
Yeah.
To put themselves out there, and it's great. It's a beautiful thing. And so, like,
because who knows? Maybe other people will learn from it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like the power of positive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're putting out that certain energy, I just read this book, so it's called.
You do read a lot of books.
Unbinding the Heart.
Okay.
By Agapi Stassinopoulos. So she says in the very beginning of her book that her mother taught her, you come from a place, if you go into the world and you come from a place of giving, and you're putting that energy out there somewhere at one point in time, and it may be little and it may be huge, like that, the universe and God, if you believe in God, if you believe in some sort of higher power, will find a way to bring that energy back to you so that you can give more of that energy.
Yeah. It's like whatever you put out there, you receive by like 3 or 10 or 7. It multiplies back so that you can use that same energy and then bring it back out to someone else that might need it.
Yeah.
Because who knows, like for example, you're helping someone put their food away into their car, and for some reason your cart just starts flying away. Someone else can just grab it and be like, hey, I saw it like moving, and it's like, I decided to help you. And it's like, you know, it's just, oh, well, I helped this person out, so this person's helping me. It's a, what's the term that they say? Paid forward. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, whatever you do, just give it back. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have, let me ask you, because I shared some of my stuff. Like, do you have a situation in which, like, the whole world was raining and pulling you down, and you said, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna do my thing, I'm gonna rise above?
Oh yeah, always.
Like, I hope, like,
I mean,
like, do you have a story to share, like, if you're comfortable? I know that's a,
I mean, not at the moment.
Okay.
I was like, there's a lot of stuff, so it's like it would have to take a bit for my brain to like figure out what story would be really appropriate, to talk about, right? And it's like, but I mean, I've been in those situations where it's like for example, since I was a kid, I've always been picked on, right?
Okay.
I was always like the shortest kid ever, but I used it to my advantage where I've made friends with bullies but this is kind of bad, where at the same time it's like anytime someone picked on me, the bullies would see it and be like, why are you picking on that little kid for?
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, so just like simple things like that. But also it's because like in our family, like my dad was part of this type of radio crew, and anyone in our city was part of it, so their kids would go to my school and be like, oh, I know you, your dad's friends with my dad. So it's like a connection type thing where you, like, no matter what the bad thing is, you can figure out certain points to use to help you like get through today. But that was more of a different type of situation than power of positivity. I think it was more of power of manipulation.
Well, I think you were given these opportunities to use your resources. Yeah.
And then, like, in case something was to happen in a similar situation, then whoever picked on me back then saw it happening. They're like, wait, he's being picked on, let's go save him. Right? So it's basically the bullies became like
your allies.
Yeah.
So
it's
so Abraham Lincoln
Okay.
he had this saying that, "Am I not destroying my enemy by making him my friend?" And so that's the positive twist to it.
Yeah.
So that's how you put out that energy and be like you guys can like punk me all you want, but check this out. Like, I'm a real person, and you and I could be awesome friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
you don't know what they're really like. They could just be like a hardcore gangster or whatever, but they could be like the sweetest person.
Right. Right.
And you just wouldn't know because you're judging the exterior. You're judging a book by its cover instead of reading the pages.
Mm-hmm.
Since you read a lot of books, you understand.
I understand
that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But
So-
it was like it's like at that point you're going through it, and then you may not understand what's happening in that moment, but then
You'll realize it later down the
realize
line.
it later.
You're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that situation was like that. That's what this meaning is because I've been through it before, and it's like that one time 3 years ago. It was like I understand why it happened. You know.
Yeah. Like you become so in tune with it, and you become more aware of it and more mindful of it that you're like, okay, all right, I've seen this before. I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I know what I need to do to achieve that next level.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah. So like, I think like with anything, it's a mindset and it's a choice to remain positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so despite everything, like I could feel like shit today, but if I can somehow relay that, like no matter how much shit and how much everything is piling on top of me, that like I will give somebody a semblance, like I'm going to give myself a semblance of hope that like today is today. Let me just get through today. Tomorrow, change my mindset. Tomorrow's going to be better.
Yeah.
And then even if tomorrow isn't better, that's okay. I'm just going to keep trying
And
I'm
the
keep going.
future always changes. Like it's not set in stone. So depending on what path you choose, you could be like, well, I could choose to continue going down this shitty path, or I could choose to go in this direction and see the sunshines and the butterflies.
Yeah. Let me leave you with this. Do you think caterpillars are born knowing they're going to be butterflies, or is it just one big surprise?
Huh. You know what?
Something to think about, Joe.
I think on that note,
Yeah. I love surprises, by the way. So that's my viewpoint.
yeah, I think on that note, we're just going to leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm Potter.
I'm Anthony.
And this was, I think, the power of positivity. Yeah. Check us out next time.